Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Gone are the days of wrestling with our favorite LJN wrestling figures, trying to convince them to stand up. What's a guy to do? I'll tell you what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to get on Etsy and look up 4 Left 3D Creations and get yourself these amazing custom LJN figure stands. There is a custom stand available for every single one of your LJN Wrestling Superstar figures. Make your display shine by grabbing these custom LJN stands from 4 Left 3D Creations today.
Hello everybody, Jason up New 80s Revolution down here in the cave with another episode of LJN Revisited. That's right, we take a look, an individual up close and personal look at every single LJN figure. We talk about the body type. We talk about my history with them, the stories. When did I get them? Where did I get them? Have I ever met them? You know how we do what we do here. We have talked about Hogan. We have talked about Andre, and now we are talking about Big John Studd. And yes, he is still standing in that incredible LJN custom stand from 4 Left 3D Creations on Etsy. Head over to Etsy now, stop off and see XOX by Random Treasures, then get over to 4 Left 3D Creations and get yourself an LJN custom stand. They're perfect. They're standing there. Nothing going on, nothing flopping around. Big John Studd securely held in the stand. As you'll hear later on when we take a closer look at the figure, this was the figure that I wanted most when I saw the first 5. All right, so I got Hogan and Andre, and Big John Studd, the way he looked on the back of the package is identical to how he looks in person, but the way he looked on the back of the package, I just thought that it was the meanest, toughest looking action figure I'd ever seen. Big John Studd, I thought, was a perfect action figure. It was a perfect wrestling figure. It's the bulk is what drove me to this figure. This is why the muscular, bulky, heavy action figure, tough guy legs and torso and double fists. I had to have this figure, and I didn't get him until Christmas of '85. So he came with the rest of Series 1 at Christmas. But what a great figure. And I think Big John Studd probably should have gotten a heck of a lot more play in my childhood. And in fact, if I did dust off the ring and get the bolt cutters and, rip the lock off the door of the PACW arena and bring that back to life, I think Big John Studd might play a little bit more of a role. Because I just thought that this was a great figure, a completely 100% playable figure, probably the best pose that you can have. The Hogan pose, the Big John Studd pose. That's the best LJN pose there is. There really is. I know guys like the arm out for the clothesline. I always just liked the 2 fists. Nothing down, no arms down, no arms up. You'll see later, the up and down pose. I never liked that. This was the pose. This was the pose that every figure should have been, but that would have been, too repetitive. But Big John Studd. The most that I used Studd was in like 87 or so, 88 maybe. He was Bruiser Brody, which, is just silly. I would bring back Big John Studd, and he was Bruiser Brody in my federation, and his finishing move was a double knee drop off the second rope. Couldn't be the top rope, that'd be silly because he's a giant. You go to the second rope, you do the double knee drop onto the opponent's back. So that was the specialty move. That was the finishing move. It wasn't just your double knee drop. The opponent had to be on his stomach, knees into the back, and Bruiser Brody / Big John Studd would win the match. But like I said, now I would want Studd to have some play. I would want him to be a really tough bad guy. And then I could also see a nice face turn for Big John Studd down the road. When he came back in '89 in the WWF, he was a good guy. he was at the end of his career. Sadly, it was near the end of his life, and it really didn't go over because he just went right back to feuding with Andre, who couldn't do anything. But I think maybe a Big John Studd face run would have been great in 86 or so, 87 maybe. 85, he had to stay a bad guy and be Hogan's, one of Hogan's main challengers, or 84 into 85. 85, he's not even around much. But I think a Big John Studd as a good guy would have worked okay in 86. Maybe even feuding with King Kong Bundy. I don't know. I think that would have been cool. And I think that could happen for the LJN figures too. But Big John Studd, again, one of my favorites, absolutely one of my favorites, but my most wanted figure of the first 5 when I was a kid. I would just stare at the packaging. And I'll tell you a funny story, and it's an embarrassing story. Of course, in 85 or 80 something, whatever, we figured out how to be, celebrities on the radio, right? Not really. We could record our voices on tape, and we could play it back and listen to it. And I would do that all night in my room. I had my boom box, I had a blank tape. I would just record myself, play it back, listen to it, be all embarrassed. Oh my God, I sound terrible. And then do it again 400 more times. And that's how we got to get our voice on the radio, or through the radio, I guess. Well, I cut a little skit when I was about 9 years old, sitting in my room. I'm just sitting here in my room, and, I don't know, I think my mom just got home, and, oh wait, she's coming down. Oh, hey Mom. Oh my God, you got me Big John Studd. And I cut this little, this little spot, this little short, getting excited on tape because I got Big John Studd, the LJN, which I didn't. I just made the whole thing up, right? I was just recording my voice on tape. I would give anything for those tapes. There's so many things that I would give anything for that are just lost memories, just gone. But Big John Studd, great figure, looks great in the custom stand from 4 Left 3D Creations, and one of my favorites, Big John Studd. Here's a closer look up at the stud, a closer look here in a minute. I think the first 5 though are just so epic. The first 5 figures, visually iconic. Maybe that's my next t-shirt. We'll get silhouettes of the first 5 LJN figures as they stood on the back of the LJN packaging, right? So it kind of in that triangle, and then underneath the words visually iconic. I think that's my next t-shirt. How about that? Speaking of t-shirts, my man Stephen Brown gets a special thank you for buying the Magnup PI shirt and then making a 35-second video about it. Yeah, go check out Stephen Brown and look at the shirt that he's wearing. What a guy. What a guy. Talk about a stud. Stephen Brown and his Magnup PI shirt. That's the true definition of stud. But here is Big John Studd, and here's a closer look at him. Right now, we will be back next time doing Jimmy Superfly Snuka as we wrap up Series 1, the true Series 1 of LJN Wrestling Superstars. All right, let's take a closer look at Big John Studd. But first, we'll highlight that beautiful LJN custom stand from 4 Left 3D Creations on Etsy, ladies and gentlemen. 4 Left 3D Creations. Get on their Etsy page right now and get yourself some amazing LJN custom stands. No more do you have to worry about the figures falling over. No, indeed. 4 Left 3D Creations on Etsy. Big John Studd. There he is. I absolutely love this figure, and this was a very early must-have. Even though there were 5, this was the one that I wanted most out of all the 5. You got the 2-tone hair and beard combo there. I like that. Darker beard, lighter blonde hair. You have the bulky and muscular Big John Studd body, which is a little bit too muscular for Big John Studd, but to me, an absolutely perfect body type. And if you pay attention, Hogan, Andre, and Studd all pretty much have the same body type. And Sheik and Snuka pretty much have the same body type. So the first 5 figures are really just 2 different poses, and to a degree, you know, but same concept, same idea, same ballpark. I loved this figure. I'll tell you, this is going to sound so weird, but when I was a kid, I loved this figure because of the legs. I thought that they were so, this figure just screams tough guy action figure. The big muscular legs, the 3 stars going down the legs, the red boots, the you know, the knee slightly bent position that Hogan is in. This is a fantastic figure. Double fists, ladies and gentlemen. 2 punching hands. None of this open hand nonsense. 2 punching hands. And the very bulky Big John Studd. And don't forget that 4 left 3D Creations stand that just makes this figure look awesome. Big John Studd, ladies and gentlemen. One of the first 5, my favorite of the 5, even though I said Hulk Hogan was my favorite or the best action figure of all time. To be honest with you, you know, I know it's hard. How do you do that? How do you have a tournament of your LJN figures and pick Hogan #1, and now you're telling us that Big John Studd is your favorite of the 5? Well, it just works out that way. Big John Studd, the best looking figure of the 5. How's that? To me, the best looking figure of the 5. Bulky Big John Studd. All right, there you go, guys. Big John Studd.